What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Coming up, what Pat McAfee and NFL insider Peter Shrager had to say about the Brandon Aiyuk situation. I was on YouTube today, and I saw this thumbnail on the Pat McAfee show, and I was like, I wonder what McAfee had to say about this shocking situation. And like many Niner fans, Pat McAfee very surprised by all of this and how it's gotten to this point where it seems as though Aiyuk is no longer going to be a Niner. After last season, going into the 2024 campaign, he had signed a 4-year, $120 million contract worth $76 million in guaranteed money and $30 million per year. How did things just become so tumultuous so quickly? So to get you caught up, because this is really what caught Pat McAfee's attention. He admitted he hadn't really understood or knew what was going on between Aiyuk and the Niners before the move that the Niners made with their roster on Saturday. On Saturday, San Francisco placing BA on the left team / reserve list. I had never even heard of that before because it is very rare for a player to just leave a team and not show up, not be seen from or heard of during the season. This isn't a situation where Devondre Campbell leaves the team mid-game or Antonio Brown storms off the field during the game and takes his jersey off and he's walking into the tunnel shirtless. Brandon Aiyuk pretty much is in the witness protection program, and Kyle Shanahan even said on Sunday, we haven't seen him in about a month. So he forced us to make a move where we had to place him on this left team reserve list because we don't know what's going on with him. And by doing that, this makes Aiyuk ineligible to return this season. While the Niners have not seen Aiyuk, nor have they heard from him, BA on Monday, December 15th, did break his silence and posted this on Instagram. Let me translate the post for you, or at least read it word for word. On an E-Way V-Truck, even though it's a BP, I still play the rear view mirror. My wrist a PP Patek Felipe. Same price, Richard Mill. That is the caption of what Brandon Aiyuk said under that Instagram photo. He's really into cars, and so he partnered on that Instagram post with his car brand. And if anybody wants to translate that for me, go ahead, because I have absolutely no idea the message that Brandon Aiyuk is trying to pass along. And obviously, over time, he's had a lot of cryptic posts about the Niners and him being unhappy with San Francisco. Remember when I kept telling everybody BA is unhappy with the Niners and people would say, clickbait, no, he's not. Turns out BA is very unhappy with San Francisco. What McAfee is also stunned by, and what's kind of surprising to all of us, is that the Niners voided Aiyuk's 2026 guarantees. He's losing about $25 million, and BA is not even fighting this with the NFL Players Association. This tells me that Aiyuk wants no part of being a Niner any longer, and in turn, he's pretty much quit on his team this year. What the roster move means for San Francisco and Aiyuk, to simplify it, is that Aiyuk is done as a Niner. He will not be playing for San Francisco again. I know the Niners have remained hopeful that maybe he was going to return this year and that they would see number 11 in a scarlet red uniform again. But this relationship cannot be salvaged. It is broken. It's sad in a way. And the relationship has been severed. As far as the Aiyuk contract details here, pre-June 1, if the Niners release him or trade him, in 2026, it's a $29.6 million dead cap hit. Post-June 1, if they release him or trade him, it's only an $8.3 million dead cap hit in 2026. But if you do release or trade him after June 1, it's still a $21.2 million dead cap hit in 2027. So either way, San Francisco is going to have to eat some money. And this has turned out to be a pretty disastrous contract for the Niners organization. On the plus side, if you want to keep it positive here, the Niners do open up about $26 million in 2026 cap space. And over the next few years, it's kind of fluid here, but the Niners are going to gain $80+ million or so in cap space over the remainder of Aiyuk's contract, which he signed going into the 2024 season. And as I kind of alluded to, and I've talked about this on the show in the past, this is sad. It's a disaster. I mean, Aiyuk was a homegrown player for the Niners, drafted in 2020. He got better every year that he was with San Francisco. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2022 and in 2023. In 2023, he developed into an all-pro player. Think about that. An all-pro player at a position where there are a litany of wide receivers to choose from who are absolutely elite players. He got to a point where he earned the contract that the Niners gave him. Now, you can blame San Francisco for this relationship spoiling and falling apart because of how they handled the contract negotiation, and that's fine. But contract negotiations, whether it be me and my bosses at Chat Sports, you and your employer, Aiyuk and the Niners, can always get contentious. There's always a back and forth. They can always get a little bit messy. And there's always going to be an arm wrestling contest because both sides are trying to win the deal. The player wants more. The company wants to pay you less. You start at a high asking price, then you go down from there. But even though the Niners may have made a mistake in how they handled the contract negotiations with Aiyuk, they still paid him. And he was still unhappy. The Niners had trades worked out with Cleveland and New England. Aiyuk didn't want to go there. It's kind of his fault. And it is his fault that he has been a petulant, immature baby since signing the deal. He got undressed on the practice field in front of Kyle Shanahan. You got the money that you wanted. In fact, if the Niners would have signed him earlier on in the offseason, he would have gotten less. And he couldn't get past that and be a team guy while also being a me guy because he did get paid. Instead, I think he's got some really bad advice around him from his camp. And it's unfortunate how a homegrown player who ended up being such a marquee player during some great Niners seasons is now going from being a beloved player to a hated player. And the relationship, I don't think, is ever going to be repaired. Now, coming up next, what Pat McAfee, Peter Shrager had to say about the Aiyuk situation. What's his future? What went down? What are some thoughts and reactions to that? It's all coming up. But let's get to our sponsor. Today's 49ers Report is brought to you by Prize Picks. This is the best daily fantasy sports app in North America. Join the millions of users. Sign up today. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. That place is Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Get in on the action. It's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks also offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists, for instance? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Prize Picks also puts their users first. All withdrawals fast, safe, and secure. And they accept most major payment methods, making deposits into your account quick and easy this sports season. Here's how the game works. 3-pick power play. Let's run it up. Christian McCaffrey, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. George Kittle's been on a heater, more than 61.5 receiving yards. And then Grandpa Phillip Rivers. The profile picture for him on Prize Picks, Joe Biden, pretty fitting. More than 159.5 passing yards. I didn't make that photo. That is how it goes. Get $50 when you play $5. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So Pat McAfee, like many of us, surprised at how this situation between BA and the Niners has unfolded. And McAfee also said what a lot of us believe too, that with this Niners team now being 10-4 on the year, with a win against the Colts, they will clinch a playoff spot. They still are in the running realistically to get the number 1 seed in the NFC. This offense has been really damn good since Brock Purdy has come back outside of the 3 first-half interception performance against the Panthers. Can you imagine in this pass game what the Niners offense could look like with the Brandon Aiyuk, especially now that Ricky Pearsall is, of course, hurt again? Re-aggravated the PCL, injured his ankle. But if you got Aiyuk and Pearsall on the field at the same time, I think there's a reason why the Niners drafted Pearsall to team up alongside Aiyuk, because they looked at Debo as the odd man out. Ended up being true. I had predicted that was going to happen, and I was right on that. Both can beat zone, can beat man. What happened to the Niners against Kansas City in the Super Bowl? They couldn't beat press man, nor could Debo. Well, Aiyuk and Pearsall are man beaters because of their route running, their footwork, their release at the line, and what they can do downfield as far as their route tree and being able to pick up yards after the catch. Aiyuk turned into one of the top wide receivers in football. Another reason why this story is sad. And he's extremely dynamic. He would be a great player alongside Purdy. And we've seen what Purdy and Aiyuk can do. Purdy was the quarterback when BA wasn't all pro in 2023. Bruce Arians was also on set alongside McAfee. And he said, yeah, this is an unfortunate situation. And Aiyuk better be careful because the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Aiyuk might hate the Niners and think that they're an awful organization. But in reality, they're one of the best run organizations in the sport. They're one of the most respected organizations in the sport. And their brand, if you care about team marketability and individual marketability, is one of the biggest worldwide brands in all of sports worldwide. The SF logo is famous and can be identified by anybody pretty much all across the globe. When the NFL really started to gain popularity in the 80s and 90s, the Niners were running the NFL in the 80s and 90s, which is why I firmly believe there are Niner fans all across the world. I see it with the analytics and the demographics of people who watch this show, all age ranges, but you see it on game days when people super chat. People are super chatting from Japan, Hawaii, Australia, Europe. I mean, people are all over the place rooting on the Niners because when they were growing up, the Niners were dominant and the team of the NFL in the 80s and 90s. And if they were younger during that era, their parents were Niner fans. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Bill Walsh, and Steve Young. How could you not be? They were playing captivating football at that time. Peter Shrager was then also brought in and said when Shanahan said that on Sunday about not seeing Aiyuk around for a month, quote, it was chilling. Now, I think chilling is a good journalistic word to use, and I like Shrager. We follow each other on Twitter. We've exchanged some messages from time to time. I wouldn't call it chilling. I think the word that I would use is just kind of surprising and shocking, right? It's gotten to a point where it's so strenuous that Aiyuk just hasn't been seen around the facility for more than a month. And Kyle Shanahan advocated for the Niners to pay Aiyuk. He ran upstairs when the Niners were about to trade him and say, don't trade him. We can work out a deal. Kyle Shanahan was the one calling and designing plays for Aiyuk to become the player that he became. Shrager also said all offseason last year was the Aiyuk watch, and it was. I mean, we did so many videos on the show. Is Aiyuk going to sign? Is he going to get traded? What's the contract going to be? Then they were able to strike a deal. And Aiyuk became one of the highest paid wide receivers in the sport with the market changing. And everything since that contract was signed has unraveled. BA unhappy on the field, bad body language, playing poorly, the practice incident with Kyle Shanahan wearing the wrong clothes, then the knee injury, which leads us to present day. And Shrager made a good point here. He said, you want to make sure everybody here is okay. And I think he means from a mental health standpoint and a personal standpoint. Are we sure that Brandon Aiyuk is okay? I'm not sure if Brandon Aiyuk is okay. I'm a little bit worried about him, and I care about him from afar because I wanted the Niners to pay him too. Shoot, in 2021, I was saying that he was better than CeeDee Lamb, and at times, I've liked his game more than CeeDee Lamb's. But if everything's not right in between the ears, and we see this with professional athletes all the time, you get some bad eggs in your circle, things can go awry pretty quickly. Shrager also said, imagine Aiyuk's story will be continuing somewhere else after this year. And I think that's inevitable. It's going to happen. Either way, just a shocking, stunning development. That's the best way I could characterize and explain everything that's gone on between the Niners and BA. Don't forget to give me a follow on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, and TikTok. I just started this TikTok page, already humming, over 4,000 followers. And then I keep checking Facebook. I've got over 10,000 followers there. Just search Chase Senior Chat Sports.